Happy Easter Monday, everyone. We got a fun one for you guys today. Oh, it's a doozy. So, before we talk about that, let's talk about our warm-up. Our warm-up is going to kickstart off with the Sumo Good Morning for 1 to a Sumo Squat for 1 for 3 to 5 reps through that little mini complex. Then you're going to move into a Windmill for 3 to 5 a side. Side lunge for 6 to 10 alternating, 303. Plank to bear squat for 3 to 5. Plank lean, 10 to 20 alternating with a little pause per side. And then back into your plank to down dog for 3 to 5 just to open up those shoulders, those hips, all that good stuff. From there, you're going to take that down for 2 to 3 rounds just to get the body moving, right? It's after a long weekend, it's going to give you a chance to get that body feeling pretty good. And then we're going to move into this movement set here. Deadlift with the dumbbell for 3 to 5. Hang power clean, 3 to 5. And then push press for 3 to 5 with a nice RDL jump for 20 seconds per side. You're going to hit that 2 to 3 just to feel some of the movements in our work set today. Keeping in mind that if you have one dumbbell, you're going to do this whole sequence on one side with the dumbbell, and then you'll repeat on the opposite side. If you have 2, then you can rock kind of two-handed, just as reps it is. That was an awful sentence right there, but you know what I mean. It's going to get you prepped and ready for the movements in the work set. If you'd like to practice any of the other movements that you might not be comfortable with in the work set, please add those in. Make sure you're comfortable, ready for action. You'll hit that 2 to 3 rounds. Relatively short-ish warm-up today, but give yourself enough that you're going to be ready because the workout is pretty long. It has a tendency to be a little longer than you'd expect. So what we have for you guys, we have 50 dumbbell deadlifts, we have 50 goblet squats, 50 push press, 50 bent row, 50 good mornings. All right, I'll show you 2 different variations of good morning there, and 50 alternating lunges. You're going to do, here's a catch, on the minute, you're going to do 3 burpees, and then jump right back into where you're at in that work set. Or, if burpees are one of those things you're like, burpees eat me alive. I'm not a burpee boss. Every 2 minutes, you'll do 3 burpees. So you have a choice there in this work set. Please keep in mind that this could turn ugly very quickly if you decide to go with that on-the-minute burpee set, and burpees are not your friend. So please keep that in mind as we're moving through this work set. So how this workout goes, 3, 2, 1, go. You will start with 3 burpees, and then you will start taking away at 50 deadlifts. That will be 25 per side if you have a single dumbbell. If you have 2, you can use double and just take it down from there. From there, you'll move into a goblet squat, and you'll just move into that normal goblet squat. Same with the push press. If you have a single dumbbell, 25 per side. Then you're going to move into your bent row, same concept, 25 per side. The good morning is going to be a couple different options, so I'll show you those. And then a lunge, depending on the style of lunge you choose, is going to be an alternating 50 rep lunge. If you're holding a dumbbell, you can hold a goblet, front rack, suitcase. But if you're holding it suitcase or front rack, we're going to do 25 per side. So just once you get halfway, switch sides with the dumbbell, continue doing halfway. Now, this is going to get kind of tiring, so I want you guys to keep in mind, this is going to be a fun one. Take it for quality, move well. Don't necessarily worry about trying to go blistering fast. Work for quality, and just chip away at this work set as you go. Let's get you warmed up, ready for action. All right, let's get those feet under those hips. Let's take the arms up big and tall up overhead. We're going to reach over to one side, a little side bend. Take it to the other side, that's a side bend. We're going to come all the way down to the floor, touching those toes. Nice little forward fold. Walk up those shins. We'll come down, framing a foot. Step it back into your lizard. Nice and solid here. Inside hand's going to come on that front foot. We're going to turn towards the outside hand. We'll come back to center. Lower the knee. Press the hip. Back to center. Press the hip. To center. And press the hip. Back to center, straighten the leg, turn, come back through. That inside hand is going to come off that foot, big reach to the sky, and we'll rotate to the floor for 1. Come back up, plant the hand, step back into that down dog, setting those shoulders. We're just going to walk our feet out nice and slow, nice and steady, just waking things up. And we'll come back to center. Other foot comes up. Inside hand's going to lock the foot in place. We'll turn the torso torso, come back to the center, lower the knee, press the hip, come back through, press the hip, back through, press the hip, back through, straighten out the leg, turn, back to the center, inside hand reach, and rotate, forearm to the floor, come back up, plant the hand, step back into that down dog, reaching those hips, you're going to walk those heels out nice and slow and steady, just feel those ankles out, stretching out those feet, come back into that plank, tiptoe those feet all the way up, and roll ourselves up, big stretch, little reach, come down with those hands, let's rock and roll you guys. All right, now, let's get ourselves squared away. If there's any extra little warm-up stuff you'd like to take down, please do so. All right, pause the video, take that down, cat-cow, thread the needles, anything for the hips, anything along those lines. We're gonna get you going through this nice little warm-up set to get you prepped and ready. All right, we're gonna start off in our sumo stance for our sumo good morning and our sumo squat. So it's a slightly wider stance. So for our sumo good morning, pretty standard. We set the glutes and ribs nice and tall. You can have your hands wherever they need to be. I like checking in with the chest and the ribs to make sure I'm not breaking through that midsection. I'm gonna pull back through that hip crease, keeping that glute squeeze on. My weight is through my midfoot, my big toes are on the floor, setting that good position up, and then I stand nice and tall. From here, I'm gonna push those knees out, keeping the big toes down, weight through that midfoot, chest is high in that sumo squat, and then pushing through those knees and legs to stand tall. So remembering with that sumo squat, we want to make sure that the knees go out a little bit more so than our normal air squat. So one more time, kind of nice at speed, setting the hips. By good morning, feeling those feet and hamstrings. I stand and set. I squat, pushing those knees out, staying as upright as I can. Stand tall, and then repeat. So we're going to move relatively smooth through those. Pretty slow though, I don't need to rush those. I want to make sure I'm getting that good hinge and that good squat. From there, I'm going to stay in my sumo stance though, and I'm going to work on my windmill. So for the windmill, I'm going to take one hand up to the sky, one hand down. I'm primarily focusing on the shoulder position, so I want to make sure that shoulder position stays true. I'm going to pull my hips back like my good morning, but I'm going to rotate at my low rib, keeping that armpit in that good position, taking it as far down as I can, and then slowly come back up. The thing we're looking for is that in the rotation, I'm rotating at the low rib, not rotating at the shoulder. So the orientation of the shoulder will change with the torso, but we're not letting that shoulder move on its own. So really take your time with those. If you feel that shoulder starting to rotate on its own, don't go any further, just take it to that range, come back up, and then push that edge each rep. From there, we're gonna step our feet out a little bit wider. We're gonna move into our side lunge. So I'm gonna step my feet out wide enough with those toes out, and then I'm gonna think squat. So I'm gonna squeeze my glutes so my hips are open. I'm gonna draw my hip to my heel, and I'm really gonna focus on trying to stay as upright as I can through my chest and body. Taking my hips to my heel, I push through that leg, squeezing at the top, pulling that hip to my heel, trying to stay again as upright as I can in that body position, pushing through those legs. So I'm going to turn profile so you guys can see that a little bit better. Big focus here, big squeeze. Again, hip to heel, thinking about my chest staying upright like a squat. Pushing up into that position, setting those hips, taking that hip to heel, and I'm focusing a little bit more attention to that upright torso than my depth, all right? So I want to make sure that I'm listening to my posture and not just pushing myself down to deeper position, even though I'm starting to hinge forward like a good morning. Think squat, not deadlift. Now, from here we're going to go into our plank. We're going to start off with our bear squats. It's going to get a little intense. So my hands are going to come into my plank position, just outside my shoulders, but under my shoulders in terms of positioning. Pressing through my shoulders, I'm going to pull my ribs in, stepping my feet to my hip or my squat stance. I'm going to keep my hips low, and I'm going to pull my hips straight back, pressing down with my arms, equal weight between my thumb and my pinky. As I come into that nice plank again, I stabilize, set my shoulders, pulling straight back, pressing into those hands, coming straight back in to my plank. Now it's very important we think about equal weight between pinky and thumb, because we don't want those hands rolling out onto the pinky side. We want to keep that hand flat, because that will help stabilize the shoulder. Now from there, we're going to move into our plank lean, and I'm going to face the front for you guys so you guys can see that engagement. I set up my plank, I can bring my feet together, which is going to create a little bit more challenge. Pull my ribs in, press my shoulders up. I'm going to push and pull with my arms, which is going to allow my torso and legs to come with. We want to make sure that the upper body engages and initiates. So I'm keeping my shoulders level over my hands, and I'm keeping that body moving with the rest of my body. So the hips move with the shoulders guide the body. Now with this, we want to make sure we're only going as far over as I can keep my arms straight and that my wrists and hands can tolerate. So really listen to that body. Don't worry about trying to go fast with these. You'll get more out of them, and they are more challenging if you actually slow it down, because you're going to really find that transition of weight from side to side. After those plank leans, we're going to move into our plank to down dog. So just to give ourselves a chance to stretch things out a little bit. So I'm in that good plank, I pull back and up into that down dog, setting those good shoulders like they were in that bear squat, except my hips are coming up and back instead of back and down. It's really going to give me a nice chance to open up that upper back, but still work on that good overhead position that we're going to need later on in the workout for that push press. So really focusing on those shoulders. Again, there's no rush in this movement. Use this, go slow with this, really feel that motion out and see how it makes the body feel as the day goes on. Now, 2 to 3 rounds of that. We have our Sumo good morning for 1 into our Sumo squat for 1, 3 to 5 times. Windmill, 3 to 5 per side, or if you want to kind of alternate back and forth, I'm good with that, 6 to 10. Side lunge, 6 to 10 alternating, 303 tempo. Plank to bear squat, 3 to 5, slow pace. Plank lean, 10 to 20 alternating, preferably with a little pause per side. And then a plank to down dog for 3 to 5 reps. 2 to 3 times, take that down. It's going to generate some really good heat, stretch the body out really nice after the weekend, and we'll see where it takes us. Our next phase of warm-up is going to consist of some dumbbell skill work. So we're going to work on our deadlift, our hang power clean, and our push press, basically covering our basis for all the movements that we're going to encounter in our workout today. So the deadlift with a single dumbbell, you can choose to play with the Sumo deadlift. I prefer it with a single. It's a nice option. It'll allow you to get more depth. But if you would like to work the conventional and have the dumbbell to the side with that single dumbbell, I'm okay with that too. But regardless of what we choose, Sumo or conventional, the hinge pattern is the same. So I'm going to demonstrate the Sumo right off the hop. I'm going to stand right over top of the dumbbell. It's going to cut my foot in half. I'm going to look straight ahead. I'm going to set my body like I'm going to do with good morning, except I'm going to pull my hips back and I'm going to take my hips down. So it's going to be a little more extended range for the first one for sure. I want to make sure that back is nice and square and my back is set in that good hinge. I stand pushing through those legs, and then from there I can just take the dumbbell down to as deep as I feel comfortable. So if I can't touch the floor, that's okay. We're going to work on that range of motion over time. The more we do this and push to the edge, it's going to help stretch out our body. I want the back position to be primary focus. Now after the deadlifts are done, I'm going to shift the dumbbell to the side or keep it to the middle, and we're going to work on a dumbbell hang power clean. Again, the movement is the same, regardless of where you take it from the middle or the side. I'm going to show it from the side so you guys can see where the dumbbell goes. I'm going to use that same hinge I used in the deadlift as I take the dumbbell to the knee. Then I'm going to push aggressively through those legs, opening the hips, pulling into that little power position, standing, bring the dumbbell down. Now the big thing with this is trying to keep the dumbbell close to the body. So I want you to watch the dumbbell path as I come up in that clean. I drive, keep the dumbbell close, come up, come back down. Do one more, and then move into the push press. I come to the knee, drive, stand tall, fix my feet, and now I'm going to move into the push press because the dumbbell's in my front rack. The back of the dumbbells resting on my shoulder, so I'm in a good rack position. I'm gonna set my glutes and set my ribs. Now the dip portion, I dip straight down, so my hips are under my shoulders, and then I'm gonna drive with those legs and hips. So with speed, it looks like so. I pull down, pull, drive. And I use those legs and hips to get that dumbbell moving. Pull, drive. So the pull down is a little slower than the up. The up is very explosive. I pull, push, and I use that drive to get that dumbbell going right overhead. So the push press, that hip and leg drive, makes up like 90% of that movement and momentum on the dumbbell. The arm just finishes it and just drives it overhead into that good overhead position. Now, if you have one dumbbell, you're gonna do all of that, 3 to 5 reps, deadlift, hang power clean, push press on one side, then you're gonna transition to the other side, do it on the other side, weight that side up, get it ready to go, working on those key skill points to get ready for the workout. After you're done that, you're gonna kind of shift away the dumbbell, and you're gonna work on some coordination work and a little bit of dynamic kind of functioning with that RDL jump. So I'm gonna pick the leg that's gonna balance for me today. The leg that goes back is the arm that's gonna come forward. So I'm gonna load this leg that's balancing, and as I come through, use that momentum, that changing of the arms, and that ankle pop to kind of go vertical. So we have 3 variations of this. The first one, we work on positions and shapes. So we're gonna work on the balance. I still load the same way, and then I come through, and I come up to a standing high knee. Come back down, repeat, set it up again. After that, our variation gets a little bit more explosive, but I still don't leave the ground. So the only thing that's different, this leg is gonna come through with a little bit more speed. So I extend, I reach, and I come through, whoop, and I come up onto the toe because the speed of this leg lifts that other leg up. Now the last one, the only thing that changes is I follow through with that ankle. I get a little pop. So I still load the same way. I reach, and then I swing through and finish with the pop. So please try and keep these as singles. We don't want to try and like link these things. You're going to stick with one side for 20 seconds, other side for 20 seconds, and then take it down from there. Just working on skill, working on that rotational strength and explosiveness to generate power. Now, quick heads up, we have a deadlift for 3 to 5, hang power clean 3 to 5, push press 3 to 5, 20 seconds RDL jump per side. We talked about if you have one dumbbell, you'll do all the dumbbell stuff on one, switch sides, do it on the other, and then you'll do the RDL jumps at the end, repeat, warm that up, and then you can play around with some movements that are coming in the workout if you'd like to warm those up as well. Pause the video, take that down, get yourself fired up. We're gonna go through the movements in the workout and then turn you loose. All right, you've made it to the work set. Here we go. First exercise on the list is the deadlift. We've already taken the deadlift to a pretty high kind of coverage in our warm-up. So again, if you need to review some of those points of performance, scroll back, check that out in the deadlifts. Just keep in mind when you're doing this, you have 50 reps, but if you have a single dumbbell, you'll do 25 on one side, 25 on the other side. If you have 2 dumbbells, obviously you'll hold both dumbbells. Now, from there, we're gonna move into a goblet squat. So you're gonna take one of your dumbbells and you're gonna hold it up under the chin. We've covered a few squat mechanics in our opening, but we're gonna talk about the goblet squat. So in our warm-up, we did our sumo stance. We're gonna bring it into our regular stance. We're gonna hold the dumbbell under the chin, pressing into that dumbbell a little bit with the upper body, setting those ribs, and then we're gonna take the hips to the heels, those knees gonna track the toe, we're gonna keep those feet nice and flat. We're gonna take it up nice and smooth. You can take it as fast or as slow as you'd like in this work set, but you have a big number of reps here. So I would highly suggest taking it at a speed that allows you to move well and allows you to not kind of gas yourself out too quickly, because we want to make sure that we can just get steady and keep moving on the time that we have to move before we have to do those lovely burpees. So rock that squat, work for quality, good movement, and try and stay as upright as we can. After that, we have our push press, and again, we covered the push press pretty heavily in our opening warm-up, so if you need any review on that, scroll back, check out those points of performance. Big thing again, if you have a single dumbbell, 25 on one side, 25 on the other side. Now the next exercise is the bent row. So the bent row, we're gonna live with one dumbbell, and and we're gonna work with per side. So I'm gonna get set up like I was gonna do a deadlift, but this time I'm gonna let the dumbbell kind of hang away from me. I pull the hips back into that good hinge. The dumbbell is gonna be about my knee position, and from here, I'm gonna pull this dumbbell into my low rib, and then extend. Pull low rib, extend. Keeping that upper back as the primary mover, we're gonna do this nice smooth set as we hold our upper body and our hinge position. So you may have to find that you might have to stand up and go, oh, take a moment, little breather, reset the hinge position. I cannot stress how important this back position is. We need to make sure our feet are flat, nice and stable, glutes are tight, and our back is flat and straight. So really focusing on that hinge. If you feel the hinge disappear, stand up, take a break, reset, come back down into that hinge, get some more reps in. You'll do 25 on one side, 25 on the other side. Then you're gonna do and work a more dynamic hinge. We're gonna work on the good morning. So the good morning is gonna be used in our workout today. We have a few different ways to do this. We can do it exactly how we did in our workout, or sorry, our warm up. Feet are under the hips, nice and tall, glutes tight, and we just do it empty-handed. So working on that good hinge, standing tall. We're not loading this today. We're gonna use this as a chance to move those hamstrings and move really well in that hinge and out of that hinge. But if you have a broomstick and you would like to do this with a broomstick, you can do two things. You can get your hands in that narrower grip, so thumb and a thumb. You'll pull it up, pop it on your shoulders. Same. You'll squeeze the shoulders like a back rack. We'll pull back into that good morning. And the broomstick might just offer just a little more opportunity to stay engaged, and you might feel a little bit tighter up through that upper back. Now, if the hinge is something that challenges you, this is a great tool, because what you can do is you can plaster that broomstick, same stance, the broomstick is against my head, my shoulder, my hips. And I'm going to pull my hips back, keeping those 3 points of contact on the broomstick the entire time. I pull my hips back, I get the same hinge, I get the same movement, but it's going to give me an instant tell, an instant coaching cue if I flex in the spine, because I'm going to lose contact with the PVC on my hip, shoulder, or head. So this is a great coaching tool if that hinge in the good morning is really challenged for you. Now our last exercise on the list is a lunge. And you can do the lunge empty-handed, you can do it goblet, you can do it front rack, you can do it suitcase. Now if you're doing it suitcase or front rack, you'll do alternating legs, you'll do 25 reps, and then you'll flip sides and do 25 reps on the other side. But the lunge is the same, regardless of whether or not you do a loaded or unloaded. I'm going to leave this one up to you as well if you'd like to do forward or back. We're going to get our feet in our squat stance, and get nice and tall, set my glutes, and I'm going to step, lower, and then come back tall, and alternate through back and forth, side to side. So I step back and lower, I'm keeping that body nice and upright as I can, and a light to gentle kiss of the floor with the knee. Now, if that is something that you struggle with, right, you can work on that standing lunge drill. So you can work on just the taking it down, standing tall. You'll do 25 on one side, 25 on the other side. The lunge is one of those movements we want to make sure that we're really practicing for good quality movement. So a couple of key points to think about. Front knee over heel, back knee as close to under hip, under shoulder as we can. Nice and vertical, and squeezing those glutes. Because squeezing those glutes is going to do two things. It's going to stabilize the hips and stabilize the knee a little bit. Now if you choose to load it, choose your location wisely, whatever's going to assist you to get the best lunges possible. Now there's one catch again with this work set. You have burpees on the minute or every 2 minutes. So how this is going to go, I'm going to walk through the burpees quick first and your options for the burpee, and then I'll just quickly explain how that works. That's going to go again. So the burpee, we have two options. We have the squat thrust and the full burpee. The full burpee, I come down, plant my hands, I jump my feet back, touch, come back up, or I bring my hands down, I can step into my plank, lower, and step back up, and go from there. Or any combination of those two things. Step back, jump in, jump back, step in. The key thing we want to focus on, elbow stacked over top of the wrist, tight core, tight glutes. Our squat thrust now is that lovely exercise where we don't have to do the push-up. So I come down with my hands, I jump into the plank, jump my feet in, or plant my hands, step, and step, or any combination of those two, like the burpee. The big things we need to focus there is hands staying under the shoulder the whole time, ribs, glutes staying nice and tight, and staying solid in that good plank. Now, the workout, how this goes. 3, 2, 1, go! You start the workout, start your timer. You're gonna start off with 3 burpees or 3 squat thrusts. Or, all right, you're gonna take that down and you're gonna start that clock timer and you're gonna go bam, 3 burpees, 3 squat thrusts, and you're gonna have a timer that's every 2 minutes instead of every minute. So once you're done your burpees, you're gonna start your deadlifts. You're gonna take your deadlifts down, you're gonna work through those reps. Beep, oh, there goes my timer. 3 burpees, right back to where I was for my deadlifts. So you just keep plugging away at it until you finish your deadlifts, hitting those burpees every time that minute timer goes, or if you're going every 2 minutes, every 2 minutes. Just gonna keep plugging away at that list, doing those burpees on the minute or every 2 minutes until you finish your 50th lunge. Done. It's gonna be a good time, you guys. Remember though, we want to think quality over speed. How you want to set your timer up is an on the minute or an every 2 minute, so that every time it beeps, you're doing burpees and you can hear that. It's a good audio response for you guys. Now take your time with this one, enjoy, have a great Easter Monday, and we're going to come at you tomorrow with some more good programming. As always, work for quality, have tons of fun. We'll see you tomorrow.